Greetings, everyone. Thank you for coming in for another quick little segment of Georgia Public Radio with me, Ray. It is a dreary, gray, rainy afternoon here in the southeast, but at least it's cool. And here in these later months of the year, when you get some good rain, you get some nice cool days afterwards, and you got a garden, you don't got to water the garden that day, get all those plants all happy, and then the butterflies and stuff get all crazy, all the Gulf fritillaries and monarchs just go and attack the flowers that I have or eat on the plants that they like to eat on that I love to grow. Sorry I didn't have a video yesterday. I had recorded a good chunk on my drive home, as I always try and do, and there's actually some really good segments. One on AI and how it affects mental health, and another one, of course, covering the shutdown day one, and I put in my commentary. But when I went to review the video, once I got home, none of the audio got recorded. The mic messed up, so that's annoying. Hopefully that's not happening right now, or else you'll never see this video. But if you are, it's working. So I might cover the AI topic again another day. It'll probably pop back up, but it's very important. It's crazy how little regulation there is around these language learning models and how they can affect our mental health and potentially ruin the lives of young people who are going through mental health crises. Anyways, we're in day 2 of the government shutdown. Democrats haven't backed down yet. Republicans are trying to blame AOC for this shutdown, and she had some really good responses to that. They can just walk up to her office and negotiate with her, since Chuck Schumer shows himself time and time again to be a spineless little prick and useless, and will obey the orders of the AIPAC lobby before he listens to his constituents in New York City and in the state of New York as a whole. But hey, credit for credit due. He found at least one vertebra, however you say that, and is using it to at least put some type of resistance to ensure that people on Medicare here in Georgia, it's just called Georgia Medicare, Parts A, B, and then C is for Medicare Advantage, which is a joke, and it's just a way to funnel money to private insurance companies. But here in Georgia, it's pretty clear, but across the nation, Medicare goes by a lot of different names because it's partially run by the states, and the Dems, at least in the Senate, and I mean in the House as well, because they all voted against the continuing resolution off the bat. They're taking a stand to make sure that subsidies that are set to end this year do not end this year, and that there's assurances that the funding will stay, and that the executive branch can't work around the law for rescissions. So there's actual bipartisan negotiations. So half the country has an actual say in a way. So very important. Obviously, our healthcare system is broken. Our health insurance system is a scam, and even though continuing these subsidies will just continue the system that is currently not very good, it's better than letting it completely crumble and let thousands upon thousands of Georgians and millions of Americans across our nation go without the ability to even see a doctor in the first place, and lose their jobs and lose their lives potentially to health problems. So let's get into what GPB and NPR are talking about right now.
Mistakenly deported to El Salvador. Jasmine Cars reports the judge
Mr. Kilmar
Abrego Garcia 30 days to appeal.
Abrego Garcia's lawyers filed to reopen his asylum case, claiming he now qualifies since he was sent out to El Salvador and later returned to the U.S. That motion was denied on Wednesday for several reasons, including that the judge found Abrego Garcia was not singled out by guards while in detention. In 2019, Abrego Garcia requested asylum, but was not eligible because over a year had passed since he'd entered the U.S. illegally. Still, the judge ruled that he could not be sent to El Salvador because his family was the target of gang violence there. Nevertheless, in March of this year, he was detained and deported to El Salvador. A Supreme Court ruling got him returned to the U.S. The Trump administration then accused him of human trafficking, to which he has pled not guilty. Jasmine Cars, NPR News, New York.
And you're listening to NPR.
This is All Things Considered on GPB. I'm Orlando Montoya. Coming up, the U.S. is seeing a spike in people getting sick from infectious diseases long kept in check. Tuberculosis is one concern.
We are at a very dangerous inflection point with tuberculosis. If we don't redouble the efforts, we're just going to be spending more money to catch up.
Hear more about the role federal spending is playing in a possible TB resurgence coming up in about 12 minutes here on GPB.
There's no vaccine against TB.
On the
There's nothing
government
preventative that you can do
lawmakers and
besides
federal
just
workers
try and stay as healthy as you can on your own.
Also, how the Constitution has been amended and reinterpreted throughout history.
There are very difficult constitutional battles ahead, but there's a lot to be learned from the way those battles were waged in the past.
On the next morning edition from NPR News.
Tomorrow morning.
Also, we need another constitutional convention in this nation. Our Constitution has been attacked
monthly sustainers and the
and is
Environmental Law Center.
in certain ways inherently broken because of what's happened really over the last 50 years and certain elements beyond. That has weakened the power of Congress and has weakened us as a representative democracy in the first place.
The iconic Ritz Theater in downtown Brunswick was opened as the Grand Opera House in 1899.
That's close to me.
It entertained area residents through the golden eras of vaudeville and 20th century film before a brief shutdown and threat of demolition.
Might have some
Acquired by the city in
not so good
1981,
shows.
it's undergone several renovations. Heather Heath leads the Golden Isles Arts and Humanities Association, which manages the Ritz with concerts, films, art exhibits, and live theater.
It's a fabulous place to see shows and actually a fabulous place to perform shows because I've done that on occasion here too, and it's just a great space. We're so lucky to have it.
She says the theater's history includes brushes with celebrity and, of course, a ghost story. Tonight's celebration will feature a variety of live performances and tributes.
Support for NPR comes from the station.
Brunswick is quite nice.
Presenting Anemone, starring Daniel Day-Lewis.
It's pretty close to me, relatively speaking. I got friends who live up there, and I've always found Brunswick to be a pleasant place to go to. It's not a very big city. You got St. Simon's there, which is nice. My wife has stayed there before. And then you got Jekyll Island, which is pretty nice. I wish you didn't have to pay to get onto the island. It feels weird, but it's nice. I caught a nice stingray, like an 8-pound stingray off the beach there.
Flotilla, hundreds of activists, lawyers, and politicians.
Oh, thank God
from
someone is
Gaza
covering this.
Has been met with widespread international condemnation. There have been massive protests and diplomatic fallout in several countries. Meanwhile, Israel is pressing on with its ground operation against Hamas in Gaza, where it has ordered residents of the most populous city to leave, giving them one last chance, it says. Here to discuss all of this and more is NPR's Ruth Sherlock, who's in Rome. Hi, Ruth.
Hi.
So let's start with this flotilla. I mean, we've seen camera footage of Israeli soldiers boarding the boats of activists and lawyers and politicians. What's the situation now?
Well, Israel's now intercepted most of those vessels, and it's likely going to deport those on board back to their home countries. So the activists haven't succeeded in that mission to break the naval blockade and deliver aid to Gaza.
But they've succeeded in other ways.
This is a PR nightmare for Israel. Stopping the flotilla has sparked all these protests all around the world. Here in Rome, where I am, something like 10,000 people came to the streets kind of spontaneously last night in response. Yeah, and Italy's national unions have been calling for a big strike this week. And Israel repeatedly said it considers the flotilla a Hamas-linked provocation with no permission to enter its waters. But many countries don't see it that way. Colombia has expelled all remaining Israeli diplomats over this. Turkey, Mexico, Ireland, Malaysia. These are just some of the countries that have condemned Israel's actions. And this flotilla journey, it lasted weeks, and it was live streamed by the activists, and it's become this kind of vehicle that people have gotten behind to express the anger they feel at the scale of the death toll and suffering in Gaza.
Yeah, and while this has been happening, an Israeli airstrike hit aid workers in Gaza, right? And now Israel, as we mentioned, is saying that Palestinians have one last opportunity to leave Gaza City.
Yeah, so the charity Doctors Without Borders has told NPR that 5 of its staff were hit in an Israeli airstrike in Deir al-Balah in central Gaza. 4 of those were badly wounded, and a 5th, an occupational therapist, was killed. The charity's saying they were on their way to work.
They're murdering doctors and nurses and health workers.
And as you say, Israel's
they have no respect for human life.
On taking Gaza City, the most populous city in Gaza, and the shelling has been so intense that aid groups have pulled out. Some of the last medical help has had to leave. About 400,000 Palestinians have fled the fighting, and Israel's defense minister has now said everyone there has to leave, and that those who remain will be considered militants. But there are still hundreds of
all those babies,
many are elderly,
all those grandmas,
wounded, or sick,
militants.
Don't have the resources to flee, and they fear that there's nowhere safe to go.
Well, while all of that has been happening, President Trump made a 20-point proposal for ending the war. Where does that proposal stand now?
All of the
Well, everyone's waiting for a response from Hamas. I mean, the proposal asks Hamas to set free its hostages and Israel to release hundreds of Palestinian prisoners. But to end the war, Hamas also has to give up power in Gaza and disarm. The proposal, it's been accepted by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, but it's causing anger among far-right ministers in Israel, important to his governing coalition, who don't want Palestinians to be allowed to remain in Gaza at all. And as for Hamas, Qatar is trying to help mediate, and its Prime Minister told Al Jazeera that more discussion and negotiation is needed. But it's not at all clear that the Trump administration is open to any further negotiations, so we're going to have to see.
That is NPR's Ruth Sherlock in Rome. Thank you, Ruth.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Britt. We'll end it there for the radio itself for the day. But even though the Sumud Flotilla, they didn't get to the shores of Gaza to give out the, scary contraband that is flour for bread, clean water to drink, baby formula for starving children, starving infants, food, medicine, bandages, help from doctors, just everyday people, nurses, lawyers, MPs of various countries, 44 nations, or people coming from 44 separate nations to help out a people that are being genocided, that have been occupied for the last 80 years. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And it just shows again that the Israeli project is a nationalist project. It's a genocidal project. They have a history of prioritizing white European Jews over anyone else. Just look at what they've done to Ethiopian Jews. Look at what they've done to Iraqi, Iranian, and Yemeni Jews throughout the years, to harass them, to bomb them, to make their lives worse, to force sterilize some of them, and then to cause so much disruption to try and force those countries to then force those Jewish populations into Israel to beef up their own numbers. It's gross. And how many Palestinian people they've killed, how many Iraqi, Syrian, Iranian, Yemeni, Egyptian, Lebanese, Jordanian, American people that they have killed, and the world just lets it go. It's unacceptable. But luckily that world letting it go is getting smaller and smaller, because it's the leaders who benefit from genocide that are the last stand against us who give a shit about other human beings, about children, about grandmothers, about men and women who want to determine their own lives on their own land that they've had for millennia. Keep up the pressure. Keep calling your congressmen, your senators, your state reps. Pressure them. Ask them, why are we sending weapons to a genocidal country? Why? It's unacceptable. Why are our tax dollars going to killing children instead of building hospitals, building schools, turning out better books, getting better teachers, getting better doctors and nurses in our own borders? They're good questions to ask. They're necessary questions to ask. We'll leave it there for the day. Thank you for listening. Thank you so much. I'll catch y'all tomorrow as long as my mic keeps working. Y'all have a good one.